So let's go ahead and give a nice warm welcome to our next storyteller, Emily Durway, with her story, Walking on Ice.
How are y'all doing tonight? It's cooled down in here a little bit, which I think is good. Back in 2003, my grandma passed away. She was Granny Durway. She had been fighting for a long time with Alzheimer's, and she was living at the time in a nursing home in Maryland near my parents and my brother. I was living in Milwaukee. When she passed away, we all had to figure out in February how to get down to Fort Worth, Texas. That's where she had lived most of her life. That's where she had married my grandpa, and that's where she was going to be buried. That's where her plot was, next to my grandpa. I was flying down from Milwaukee. My parents and my brother were driving down from Maryland. When I flew into DFW, I was the last airplane to land. Literally the last airplane to land. They were shutting down the airport. They are shutting down Dallas. They are shutting down Fort Worth. There is 3 inches of ice on everything. I got out of the plane. I was deplaning. I went, and there's lights shutting off, literally lights shutting off behind me as I'm going to get my bag. I get down there, and I find a phone, 2003, no cell phone, these are pay phones. I call every single taxi company. They're not running. I called to rent a car. They have closed down. I finally talked to somebody. They say, hey, you can take a shuttle. They'll take you to the train. I think the trains are still running. You'll be fine. I get to the train after a very eventful but short shuttle ride. The train has shut down. I don't know anything about Dallas-Fort Worth, so I start wandering about. I find out the buses are still running. I find a bus. It's going to take me to the right place, which is a mall about a half a mile from the motel that we are all staying at. Now, my parents have driven down. They're late, but they're finally in the city. They're not going to drive their car all the way across the city to DFW to pick me up, because they've had an accident on the way down from Maryland. My father fell asleep while driving, crashes the car. Car's still sort of working. The window is broken, the side of the car is damaged, but they don't want to drive it farther than they have to, right? So they're going to pick me up at this mall. I get on the bus. The bus is actually driving okay, it's dealing with the ice okay. The rest of the cars around us that we see, not so much. Every single intersection where there's a red light, somebody has slid through the intersection. We see cars spinning out everywhere. Finally, our bus goes up to a light and tries to stop. And it slips, and it skids into a telephone pole and hits it. Everybody stops. The bus driver looks back and says, hey, is everybody okay? Everybody's like, yeah, we're fine, we're fine. Do y'all still want to keep on going? Yes, we do. We see what's on the outside of this bus and realize we're much safer in the damaged bus we are in. So we keep on going. I finally get to the mall. It used to be in a really nice area of town. Not so much anymore. While I was waiting in line for the payphone, I was definitely waiting in line with drug dealers and prostitutes. So it's nice. It's a nice swath of, the heartland of America right there in that mall. My parents and my brother come and get me in their broken, minivan, take me back to the hotel. Everything's basically closing down. We go next door and have dinner, but the funeral home is closed the next day. We can't bury my grandmother. All of our relatives who are outside of Fort Worth can't come in. The next day, it's now 3 to 5 inches of ice. We don't go anywhere. The night before, we'd gone next door and had dinner at Taco Loco. It's a walking distance, the only place open. The next day, we have lunch and dinner there. The next day, still iced over, still the funeral home is closed. So we go to Taco Loco again for lunch and dinner. And the next day, we have leftover Taco Loco for breakfast. We have Taco Loco for lunch. And my father and I have decided we cannot do Taco Loco for dinner. There's just no way. It's now the third day, and we hatch a plan. Even though him and I were both born in Texas, and he was raised in Texas, he's lived many years in the north. He knows snow, he knows ice. I've been living in Milwaukee, no problem, right? Yet nobody can drive on ice, just so you know. It's one of those things that nobody can drive on. So we decide we're gonna go out and find food though. We feel like hunters or foragers, you know, from the olden times, like it's 200 years before we're gonna fight a buffalo and kill it. So we go out, we're driving around, and we see a Sonic, and we see lights. We're going like 5 miles an hour. There's Sonic in Texas, just so you know. And we finally find one, we go up to it, the lights are on, but there's absolutely no humans there. It was a false alarm, and it was mean of them to leave their lights on. And we keep on driving, and we're driving on the highway. Now, it's like 5 o'clock. There's literally nobody on the road. The only thing you can see on the road is once in a while in the ice, you can see the indentations that were left by the cop cars that have actual chains on their wheels. That's all you can see. We almost slid off the road about 5 times. We've given up. Every single place we've gone to is closed. So we decided to circle back towards the hotel because we heard from previous recon that a Wendy's might be open. We find the Wendy's. The lights are on. We see movement inside. We are so excited. We're like, after all this time, we're gonna be rewarded. We're gonna be rewarded. And we walk up to the door, and they ignore us. They act as if we're not there. They don't even acknowledge our existence. We knock on the door, we try to open it. They are definitely closed. There's humans in there. They're still there. It looks like some of them are actually eating food, which made us more mad, but they are not opening that door. Dejected and sad, we go back to the car. The car at this point, I'm driving, because my father just had an accident. And I tried to turn on the car, turn it over, and it won't start. It just won't start at all. My father's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I have no idea. But we don't have a cell phone. We can't call AAA, and it's an ice storm. So we decide to walk. We're only like a mile from the motel, no big deal. Well, my father is wearing these old loafers that my brother wore when he was 12 that have been resold about 12 times. I don't know why he loved these things, but he did. And I was wearing regular dress shoes. My father decides that the best way to walk on 3 inches of ice is to put his hands in his pockets of his blue members-only jacket and walk like a penguin. So my father is walking like this. Literally, except a little bit slower, but basically that's exactly what he is doing. I am wearing dress shoes, but I don't have cleats on. I don't have things to deal with 3 inches of ice, so I'm walking like the world is moving, and I'm in an earthquake, and I'm gonna make it stop. We walk about, I don't know, half a mile. It's taken us forever to get that far. We see a bus. My father waddles over to stop the bus. I'm like, hey, trying to make myself as big as possible. The bus stops. Well, it almost hits us, but it didn't. It skids into us, towards us, and we talk to the bus driver. It's going the other way. It's not going anywhere near where we're going, and there's no other bus that's going that direction. We soldier on, like the hunters we are. And we go up a little bit farther, maybe about 45 minutes longer, and we get to a convenience store. The convenience store is open. Somebody's there. We are so excited. We ask them if we can use their phone. We call my mom to tell her what's happening. It's literally been 3 hours since we've been gone. My mom has already called the state police, has already called highway patrol, and the switchboard at the motel knew exactly who we were, and we're glad we were alive, as they told me when I called in. My mother decides the best way to deal with this is to send my brother out to get us. by foot. I don't really know how that helped to have 3 people walking on 3 inches of ice, but that's how it was. So finally, we're walking back the last quarter of a mile. My father again, walking like this. I'm walking like I'm gripping the air like it's gonna help. And my brother, who had lived in Texas more recently than I had cowboy boots on and a Western hat, and was sort of walking like John Wayne would, you know, like heel to toe, really sure of himself, and really wide. None of us fell, and we all got back to the motel. Our understanding was the next day the funeral home was actually going to be open. We're going to get some of our relatives to be able to come in, and we were going to be able to bury my grandma. That night, we all were thankful to have our family and to be close as we ate Taco Loco. Thank you.